Welcome to the Eagle Disc Golf Course at Olpe Lake. This is one of the longer courses in Emporia, but out here, accuracy is key. Players should focus on staying in bounds and not venturing out of their comfort zones. There are short and long tee pads on some holes, but I'll be focusing on the longs, just mentioning the shorts, when they're more drastically different than the long tees. Hole 1 is a demanding and punishing par 3. Coming in at 315 feet from the long tee pad, it's an island hole with an interesting shape to the island. Most players will be playing a gentle hyzer, trying to land in the bottom level so they have a flat putt. This hole is usually pretty windy though, so it can be harder than it looks. Hole 2 is a downhill 265-foot par 3 with the infamous hanging basket. There is OB short, but it shouldn't be too much of a concern. The play is usually to throw a hyzer with a utility disc like a Justice or a Criminal and try to spike it in the wood chips. One of the easier holes, but when the wind is up, this hole can be tricky. Hole 3 is a 480-foot wooded par 4 with OB left, right, long, and right before the basket. The shot is to pick a gap off the tee and land short of the island, then pitch across and take a 3. It's a little more attackable from the short 285-foot tee pad, but I think the layup is still the play. This hole seems easy enough from the tee pad, but with that OB and slightly elevated basket, big numbers can come into play quick. Hole 4 is a huge 540-foot par 4 with OB left and right, but the left side isn't usually the concern. The play is usually a hyzer over the road, but with the slight uphill, it can be hard to get the disc to fade back in bounds. Also, going big off the tee isn't really rewarded with an easier upshot, just a shorter one. So the play is to make sure the tee shot is safe without getting fancy. Hole 5 is the scariest 330-foot hole in Emporia. It's perched out on a peninsula with OB long, short, and left. There is a safe play to the right of the green where the drop zone is, but most people are going for this one. The drop zone is for any OB tee shot, and normal OB rules apply from there. Hole 6 is a 560-foot par 4 with a daunting tee shot and a tricky green. From the tee, players are usually going to throw the hyzer, but the straight shot and ante are in play. A huge landing zone means really as long as the drive is safe, the basket is still attackable. Approaching the green, there are a few trees around the basket, so players want to put it close, but the OB long is dangerous. Hole 7 is a super tricky 215-foot wooded hole. This hole is unique on the course, and the play is usually a little forehand with a mid-range or a slower fairway driver, but some have found a backhand line that works. There is OB left that shouldn't be in the way, but it can come into play from a bad kick. Hole 8 is a huge 750-foot par 4 with a wooded tee shot and OB on both sides all the way down. The usual play is a big hyzer that lands near the memorial. This hole feels like it's one to open up on, but placing the tee shot correctly is key. Being pinched behind the memorial or up against the OB pretty much takes the 3 out of play. From there, the green is guarded by trees on the right, but there is OB left for skipping approaches. For tee shots that aren't in the ideal spot, usually a layup is going to save strokes. On a calm day, it's a pretty straightforward 3, but when the wind is blowing, this can be a hole that wrecks a good round. Hole 9 is a 400-foot par 3 that looks fairly straightforward but has some tricky OB. The tee shot is usually going to be a hyzer, but the OB on the right can sneak up quick. There is OB long, and this basket is heavily guarded by smaller trees, meaning a good drive doesn't guarantee a putt. Hole 10 is another slightly wooded hole playing 310 feet with a tricky tee shot. The trees shape well to a backhand anhyzer that fades towards the end and hopefully settles by the basket. A forehand can work as well, but they tend to fade out early and leave a longer putt. There is OB barbed wire way on the right. Hole 11 is a 500-foot par 4 with another peninsula green. From the tee, options are limited with the trees shaping a hyzer for most players. For the second shot, players can shoot the gap down the middle or swing way out on the left side fading back at the green. This is another straightforward par 4, but if the tee shot isn't ideal, birdie isn't really an option. Also, out on the peninsula, the wind coming off the lake can be brutal and putts can roll OB easily. Hole 12 is an 850-foot par 5 with a downright terrifying green. There's OB right and left, and the green plays as an island surrounded by OB. Players are going for distance off the tee, which is tricky with the uphill slope. From there, the most aggressive can shoot for the eagle, but most will lay up short of the water by the drop zone and pitch across, hopefully for the birdie. This green is a lot smaller than it looks, so some play to crash into the branches of the trees at the back and hopefully fall by the basket. Hole 13 is a 260-foot par 3, which is hard coming from the long par 5. There's OB right and OB water right next to the basket. The drop zone is way back from the OB as well, meaning any OB shot isn't likely to save a 3. Hole 14 is a 700-foot par 4 with OB left and right that pinches down, then opens back up towards the green. Players really have to decide how much they're going for off the tee. A safer tee shot usually takes birdie out of play, but getting aggressive and not coming back in bounds can be brutal. The green also has OB long and a few trees just to make putting interesting. The most common mistake is to put too much hyzer on the second shot, skipping at OB, leaving it outside the circle putt. Hole 15 is a 560-foot par 4 with OB water right in front of the tee pad that continues down the left side of the fairway and an OB fence on the right. From an OB drive, players can either go to the drop zone or play it where their disc was last in bounds. Towards the green, there are some guardian trees and the OB pinches down. This is one of the cooler greens out here with the wooden logs behind it and again, trees making upshots tricky. Hole 16 is a deceptively tricky 580-foot par 4 with OB water on the left and fence on the right. From the tee shot, placement is key. The landing zone is fairly hard-packed dirt with shorter grass, and it's also angled to the left slightly. That means that anything with a wide rim coming in on a hyzer is likely going to skip left, which usually ends up OB. From there, the OB pinches down towards the green, getting right to the circle's edge on the left side. This green is sloped to the left as well, meaning backhand approaches are prone to skipping or leaving a death putt from the road right at the OB. Hole 17 is a 500-foot par 4 with another daunting tee shot. There is OB left, fence on the right, and any drive that doesn't clear the water is a re-tee. Working towards the green, it's heavily guarded by the trees, making approaches and putts tough. The grass isn't as skippy as hole 16, but the trees mean approaches usually sail past the basket, leaving a long putt. Hole 18 is a peninsula hole with OB water all around it. At 325 feet, most players will go for the green, but there is a layup to the right. From an OB tee shot, players will proceed to the first drop zone, and if they go OB there, there's a second drop zone. After that, normal OB rules apply. This hole is more of a mental challenge than anything. Coming at the end of a long and grueling round, it can be hard to go for one more shot over the water with all that OB. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough. Good luck to those playing here, and I'll see you at the GBO.